results are in for KTH, and this is so exciting because it takes me back to when I got admitted, and I was wondering, like, what do I need to know before I start studying at KTH in Stockholm in Sweden? What do I need to know? And I got you! This was my number one not a good idea. I don't want you to go through that. You know, KTH will be challenging, but hi, my name is Sara. I am a recent architecture graduate from KTH. I also was a student digital ambassador. What that meant was I was helping out with the KTH Instagram, so you might know me from there, you might not. Congratulations! If you're watching this video, you're either interested in KTH, you got admitted to KTH, or you're just curious, what's it like studying at a Swedish university? So let's go. As you can see by the title, I have the 10 things that you should know before starting at KTH. Okay, first of all, grades. I wish I had done this before actually even applying to KTH, and that is something very logical to do that I somehow missed out on. Check the grading system for your subject, because I only found out after getting into the program, architecture. I was doing my master's, by the way, because there's only one bachelor's course that's in English, I think. If they've changed something, then I don't know. I found out that my course, that they don't have grades. At the first week that I was attending class, I was already on campus when I found out how my program even works. What? So I wish I had known that my course doesn't have exams, doesn't have any sort of tests or grades of any sort, just a pass-fail. I wish I knew that. Not because I would have made a different decision, but because I would have had a different mentality coming in. Because the first month, you see, that I attended class, I was like, wait, I can take it easy. So I wish I knew that the grades were non-existent, because then I would have actually enjoyed the classes a bit more that first month, just knowing that I'm doing it for myself. Instead, I was a little stressed, I was still on edge, I was still wondering, like, okay, what's the scale? What am I supposed to aim for? But yeah, I just wish I knew it sooner. And I wish I just Googled it beforehand. So go check. If you just got admitted, just double check that you know what the system is like. Anyway. And also you can email KTH students, by the way. If you go onto their website, there's always an option. I was one of those people answering the email. So I'm sure KTH still does that. And I recommend it. It's great. So you can actually ask students from your course what's it like, and also what the grading system is. Highly recommend. Anyway, number 2 is the fact that, okay, everyone knows Sweden is dark and the weather is kind of cold, okay? A little bit cold. During the winter months, I was debating if I should get like a sun lamp or some sort of gadget that would like create an ambient atmosphere in my room to wake up to in the morning. And I should have got it. I should have, because then I was there for 2 whole years. And the 2 winters I was there, I was like, oh, maybe I should get this. And then, oh, maybe I should get some lamps. And get the lamps, okay? It's an investment. But honestly, looking back, I really wish I just got them. Same goes for blackout curtains. Again, summer, complete opposite to the winter in Sweden. It's so bright outside at 3 a.m. And I thought people were, being a little exaggerate and being like, oh, getting blackout curtains? Like, are you serious? Just use the ones you have. No, the ones that you have probably will let in that light that comes in at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. during the summer months, and you will not be able to sleep. At least for me, I couldn't sleep. So I wish I had just really evaluated, like, what kind of a person am I? Will I need help getting up in the morning when it's 6 and it's dark outside? Will I need extra, like, coverage for the windows when it's really bright outside? You can get also like eye mask. I'm not saying spend a bunch of money, okay? And that's why I'm not saying that. But just think about, like, this is the weather situation. It will not change that much, okay? It's facts. So just decide how you want to adapt to that. Because I just spent too much time thinking about it and not actually making the decision. So yeah. Number 3, arguably the most important. And when I was answering emails about this was my number one like point that I was like telling people to do, because story time. And if you've watched the other KTH Q&A, I think I mentioned it. Basically, I thought, you know what? I got in, I'll just look into housing, you know, later down the line. Not a good idea, okay? No. Stockholm is so overcrowded with students that there will be no space for you, okay? If you don't figure things out beforehand, okay? Now I'll leave resources down below in the description, because I just know what a struggle it is. I did not have housing for 2 weeks when I arrived, okay? I had to stay in like a hostel situation, right? I didn't have a place to stay for 2 weeks, and I only signed a contract with a housing situation, like a student housing studio, whatever, in the last day of my stay in those 2 weeks. So the stress, I don't want you to go through that, okay? Just out of the good of my heart, I just don't want you to stress about it. So the second that you have your little acceptance letter, woo, got into KTH, please look into housing in Stockholm. Again, links are in the description, and I promise you it's worth it. Whether it's looking into housing with a friend, housing through Facebook groups. Personally, I never trust those, so be careful. Be very careful who you rent from. But also co-housing options, SSSB, you've probably heard of it. Please figure it out. Like, it has an instruction. It's not as complicated as it seems. Just, it's so worth it, because just don't be me, okay? I wish I knew this. I know that if you're doing your master's at KTH, you most likely don't need to learn Swedish, all right? I understand. If you're anything like me, you probably think, okay, like I might learn some Swedish, you know, like from being in the city and being surrounded by Swedish people, I just will learn a little, you know, a few words or something. I maybe will join the course. Me now, I wish I had just signed up for a course the first day I went to KTH, okay? The school itself provides courses, which I didn't know until like the first semester was done and dusted. So KTH has courses. The city of Stockholm provides free courses in Sweden for Swedish. So there's lots of options without spending any money. That's important as a student, no money, okay? But I wish I had just signed up the first day I arrived, because what I ended up doing is learning a few words just like I thought I would, okay, from all my friends. But then in the second year, I was like, you know what? I'll learn Swedish. Yeah, sure. And I signed up for a course, and I did learn a lot, and it was so worth it. And then the second I was like completing those like different steps in this course, I was regretful that I hadn't started earlier. I was like, what was stopping me? Especially that, I mean, maybe you have your whole life planned out, and maybe you know what your next steps are, and it doesn't really involve Sweden specifically. But if you're open to staying in Sweden after you graduate, it's gonna make a world of a difference on your resume and in real life. So you don't have to learn Swedish, but I would recommend it. Number 5, I think. I hope I'm counting these right, by the way, because that would be embarrassing. Try and look out for work experience. I know that at least for me, it was a little too much. I wasn't really actively looking for any jobs, like outside of the part-time jobs I had. Like, I wasn't looking for anything like specifically with my industry. Maybe you're a bit more on top of things than me, but I wasn't really looking for internships for the summer. I was just like, I want to enjoy my summer, and that is valid. If that's what you want to do, sure. But I'm not gonna lie, the people that did internships over their breaks, they kind of got that resume built up way quicker. I just wanted to put that out there just because, you know, just plant a seed, think about it. It doesn't have to be anything serious. It could be like a 1-month internship, and you still have like another month of days off, you know, another whole month. So you can split it like that, or maybe you can be like an assistant of your professor. Just look into some options, something around that, because you just never know. And KTH is a really great hub for you to find those sort of opportunities. Talk to your classmates, they sometimes will know. Talk to your professors. Oh my gosh, talk to your professors. KTH is great at like creating such a good bond between students and professors. They'll be so nice most of the time. At least from my experience, they were nice. Don't be afraid to ask questions and talk to your professors about like career opportunities. Also look into like what's happening in Stockholm. Sometimes there's exhibitions, there's events, there's conferences, and usually students get a discount or something. So that's, you know, look into that. And I guess that kind of goes along with the tip of use your time at KTH as like a networking opportunity. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but when you think about it, you know how like you hear about Harvard and stuff? People go to Harvard, of course, for the great education, but mostly for the fact that there's going to be other incredible people on campus. And the same is happening at any other university. So use that. KTH is great. So yeah. Number 6, you can set up some of the paperwork that you'll need before you move. Something I wish I did, okay? Because I didn't sort out my personal number. Look it up. It's a catchphrase I cannot get rid of now. Anyway, yes, if you can figure something out to set up your documents beforehand, whether it's visa documentation, whether it's your personal number, maybe find out how to set up a bank account beforehand. Like, the more you do before you actually move, the better. It's gonna make your life so much easier rather than scrambling for standing in line for different paperwork and signatures and then going to different places and stress. Ugh. If you can do it before, do it before. Number 7, and me, I was a little disappointed, dare I say. I was a little sad about this. We don't really get like a mandatory graduation event. Yes, you get the paper. Yes, you graduate. Yes, you get a diploma. Great. But I studied my undergrad in Belfast, Northern Ireland, more specifically. And, you know, there, it was a whole thing. It was like you wore the gown situation, you walked the stage, you got your paper, you smiled for the camera. Like, it was a whole thing. You had your family come over. It was a whole day celebrating the end of your education, right? Well, for KTH, you have to sign up for it. And it's not for everyone. And for example, me, I didn't get it. I didn't get a spot at a graduation event. You have to consider that you might not get like a really official end to your master's. I had the experience that the architecture school organized like a little party on the day that we had diploma presentations. And that was kind of our little mini graduation. So there was a little stage and everything, but it wasn't like a full school, like official graduation event. So just bear that in mind, because to me that was a little underwhelming. And the fact that I signed up to get a spot at the graduation event and I still didn't get it, kind of a bummer. I mean, don't get me wrong, the actual event is like in the town hall. I'll see if I can put pictures here. It looks amazing, but I wasn't there because you have to get really lucky with the spots. So I wish I knew that before. I might sound like a broken record to some people now, but I really encourage looking into clubs, societies, sports, gym memberships. At the end of the day, and I feel like Sweden and KTH specifically really does a great job at that, it will teach you that your academic self is not the only like identity of you. You're much more than just a student. You have, you know, interests and ambitions and all these amazing qualities about you. So If I were to do this again, I'd probably look into those chapters, those organizations way earlier. I'll try and find some resources again down below, because I did end up being in the school magazine. I did end up going to like gym classes and so on, but I didn't know about some of these things until way later. For example, the on-campus gym, I don't know if it's still active the same way, but I recommend looking into it. There was like a whole schedule of classes that you could take for free for students. And I had no idea. I was paying a full membership to, you know, do classes to enter the gym. But then there's different like organizations. There's badminton, there's like dance classes, there's so much. So I feel like it's a bit underground, but look into those. It's a great way to make friends. It's a great way to stay active during the winter. It's great. I would recommend it. And also, I mean, I'm kind of obsessed with the whole like resume building thing, but you know, having a strong accomplishment outside of your academics always looks great. One thing I wish I knew beforehand is how expensive Stockholm is. Like, so honest, it is very pricey. I would kind of compare it to London. Don't know if that's valid because I never lived in London, but I feel like the price ranges are similar. And, you know, I wish I knew that, because budgeting is going to be your best friend. Free events all over campus and in the city, great choice, okay? Looking into when museums are open for events, when there's something happening that you could sign up with a student membership. Just look out for deals. I wish I knew that before, because I would have had a different mindset. And there are little tips and tricks, like if you want to really be on top of your groceries, you can set up memberships and apps for the different grocery stores that you go to, like Lidl, Hemköp, ICA, like all of those have memberships. So look into those, because then you can get points and money back and blah, blah, blah. So yeah. And finally, I'd like to mention imposter syndrome. I talked about imposter syndrome in a different video as well. If you want to watch that, it's right over there. But I would love to realize that I don't have to be scared going into a great university like this, because I went from my undergrad straight into my master's. So I didn't take a break between one and the other. And I was so worried that I don't have any practical experience and everyone's going to be better than me and I won't be able to keep up and all of this stuff. And, you know, KTH will be challenging, you know, to work towards such an amazing degree, whatever you're doing at the school. But at the same time, you got in there for a reason, okay? Don't take that away from yourself. You know, the admissions officers, they go through hundreds and hundreds of applications. And since you got the little ticket, okay, you deserve that ticket. So you have to believe in yourself. Don't want to sound like too much of a life coach, but you know, you have to give yourself the credit that you got into the school, you deserve to be there, and the people around you, you can only learn from, you know? It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be a great journey that's going to make you learn about yourself, learn a great deal about your industry, and just develop as a person. And I'm so excited for you. If you just got into KTH, leave a comment. I'm so excited to see who of you that are watching got into KTH this year, because wow. And let me know if you have any questions about school, because I could yap forever. If you have any suggestions for future videos, for questions about KTH, questions about Sweden, questions about Stockholm, about being an architect, let me know. And yes, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!